Non lo vedo, non lo vedo, non lo vedo, non lo vedo, non lo vedo. Guida lui, guida lui.
The end of the road for Massimo Carminati. He's a one-time radical right-wing activist who liked to call himself the King of Rome. A few hours later, in the Italian capital, his right-hand man, Savatore Buzzi, chairman of a company providing public services, is also arrested by the Carabinieri. The pair are accused of organising a mafia network to embezzle millions of euros of public money. Their story started in prison.
They met in prison in the 80s. 20 years later, they met again on the outside and did business together.
To infiltrate the circles of power in the city, the two men split the task. Buzzi, an ex-con imprisoned for murder, had become a symbol of successful rehabilitation. He looked after PR and, above all, managing political contacts. Here, it's all smiles at an evening event with the former mayor of Rome. Here, he is with the man who became the future Minister for Labour. Meanwhile, Massimo Carminati oversaw the armed wing of their organisation. The ex-member of a terrorist group lost an eye during a shootout with police in 1981 and retained a host of contacts in Rome's criminal underworld.
Buzzi and Carminati had insiders in the city council, and it was from there that they managed to pull strings in order to obtain public contracts all over the city.
For 2 years now, Federica Angeli has had to live under escort. As a journalist, she uncovered the networks organised by Buzzi and Carminati, which she nicknamed Mafia Capitale in a series of articles.
This system was so well established that it was enough just to say the name Carminati to get whatever you wanted from the city of Rome.
In order to fully understand the pair's dominance of city affairs, we drove to Rome's southern suburbs. About 30 kilometres from the city centre is Italy's largest Roma camp. Built by the city council, it's at the centre of the investigation. Here, Salvatore Buzzi was in charge of providing a series of public services
Buzzi di merda!
that saw local authorities paying one of his companies €1,900,000 per year. It's had little effect on conditions in the camp, which have been deteriorating ever since it was created in 2005.
We hear about all this money supposedly going to the camp, but here in reality we are completely abandoned.
We have neither water nor electricity over there on the other side of the camp. Some people do, but not here.
These people are seen as the goose that lays golden eggs. They are discriminated inside the camp so that some people can make huge profits.
Carlos Tassola was one of the first to question the enormous sums of public money circulating around the Roma. The association he heads scrutinised the manner in which contracts were awarded.
The contracts were attributed directly without tender, and at the end of the specified duration, the contracts were renewed automatically to the same contractors, without any further control.
In order to get a maximum number of contracts, the Buzzi and Carminati gang organised monthly bribes to ensure cooperation from the city council's civil servants.
I pay €1,500 a month. One I pay 1,500, another I pay 750. For a municipal assessor, it's €10,000 every month.
For this ex-representative of the city council, the situation is clear.
They monopolized the city's administrative machine through opaque links with businesses and political representatives. Everything was rotten.
And the corruption even extended to migrant reception centres. Buzzi's companies managed 8 of them in Rome, including this one to the east of the city. The racket was simple. Inflate the figures on the number of migrants to obtain more state subsidies.
In these centres, they used a system of over-invoicing. For example, a service such as a meal at €7 was billed at €11, which the state reimbursed.
For every migrant, the state pays €35 per day to the centres. And Salvatore Buzzi managed to take hold of the management of more than 700 asylum seekers. A lucrative business.
You have no idea how much we earn from the migrants. Drug trafficking is less profitable.
Ah, there you are. Hello, how are you? Hello, everyone.
For over 4 years, Giorgio Ruffini worked for what he thought was a non-profit organisation.
Is this centre working well?
Yes, fine.
And are you okay?
For him, and many of the other 1,200 employees and volunteers, what happened is an outrage.
When I found out, I said to myself, I've been used. They took advantage of my desire to help for their own profit and financial interests. I still feel guilty. I ask myself, how is it possible not to have noticed?
The day after Buzzi and Carminati were arrested, Davide Franco was appointed to administrate companies seized in late 2014. His mission, assess the degree of corruption and organise the clean-up.
When I arrived, I had to wipe the slate clean in all the cooperatives because most of the directors were implicated in the investigation or arrested, and so we had to put new people in all the top jobs.
In
total, about 20 companies were linked to Salvatore Buzzi. As well as the migrant centres, he also controlled refuse management, green spaces, and even Rome's zoo. A network that allowed the two partners in crime to amass a small fortune. For 2 years, this unit of the financial police intercepted phone conversations between Buzzi, Carminati and their accomplices.
We identified all the payments made by Rome City Council to members of the Mafia Capitale. Our objective was to identify these sums and all the figureheads linked to the network.
During the investigation, the squad seized over €360 million invested in assets and businesses. Most of them were hidden behind a front man or sham companies in Italy or abroad.
We found properties all over Rome. One of the real estate companies just finished this building. Look at that one on the right. All the apartments were seized. They're all brand new. There's even a for sale sign.
These undercover agents are still working on the investigation to determine how the money from Mafia Capitale was recycled. A long-term job.
Over there, inside those buildings, they had several apartments. This petrol station was seized. It belonged to one of the members of the group. For the investigation, we are often on site. We follow the suspects by installing hidden cameras and microphones. We can never be seen in uniform or in a police car.
Over the 2 years of the investigation, hundreds of assets were seized, in Rome, but also along the coast.
Over there, that's a resort we've seized.
This is Rome's 10th district, the only part of the city with direct access to the sea, where Salvatore Buzzi was quick to see another business opportunity. With the council in charge of seaside concessions, he was once again able to divert huge sums of public money. Beach cleaning and local parks all ended up under his control. But here, Buzzi and Carminati went a step further.
Organised crime has been around in this neighbourhood for some time, since the 80s and the 90s. Certain members of the Cosa Nostra came to do business here. They are well-known families.
And Carminati knew these families and their methods extremely well.
Look at that kiosk over there. Last summer it was bombed.
Threats, extortion. Few victims dare to file a complaint, but this shopkeeper agreed to bear witness. He prefers to remain anonymous.
Prima volta questa persona si è presentata qui, ha chiesto questa cifra di 100.000 euro. Molti giorni.
One day, this guy walks in and asks me for 100,000 euros. He comes back again and again over the next few days, threatening me. Since I didn't pay him straight away, they wanted 300,000 euros the next week. They told me they'd burn down the shop, that they'd take it out on my family.
The police investigation proved the Buzzi Carminati network was collaborating with local mafia families. Here, we can see one of the members of the gang in the middle of negotiations.
If you don't bring me the money tomorrow at 10, I'll come and slit your throat. I'll kill you and your sons, you piece of shit.
Behind this fence, inside this high-security prison, the trial of Mafia Capitale is in full swing. There are 46 defendants in the dock, elected and non-elected civil servants and businessmen, all facing up to 30 years behind bars. Neither Buzzi nor Carminati are present in court. They are following the proceedings via video conference.
My client is in solitary confinement. They want him to crack. They're hoping he'll talk. In this case, we can at the most speak of episodes of corruption, but certainly not the mafia.
Italy's justice system allows for particularly heavy sentences in mafia cases, and Buzzi and Carminati are keeping very quiet.
We can hope that this trial will lift the lid on an open secret that everyone was aware of in Rome, but no one had the courage to deal with. Today, the Italian capital is rudderless after the mayor resigned under the pressure of corruption scandals. If magistrates prove mafia-type operations within the Buzzi Carminati group, Italy will have uncovered its latest organised crime network, a Roman mafia.